Hi, Sarah.
Hello. I don't know if I set this to record. Hold on a second.
It said recording is in
Okay.
progress.
Perfect. Then I did.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Sarah. Hi,
Hi.
Sandra.
Hi, Sandra, Tom,
Hi, John.
John,
Hello.
and hi, Kristen. Can't see you, but I can see your name. Okay, we are ready, good to go. I declare the meeting open at 6 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. Sarah, welcome back from Jordan. Did you have to bring all that wind back with you?
Yeah, when I stepped off at Logan, I couldn't believe how windy it was at home. It was crazy. It's crazy. It is
Uh-huh.
crazy.
Did you get in today?
No, I got it on Saturday.
She had plenty of time to bring the wind with her. Okay, do we have any visitors? I don't see any. So I assume there's nobody to greet. Okay. So the first item on the agenda was the minutes of the December meeting. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone want to make any changes? No? Okay, can I have a motion to accept them, please?
So moved.
Thank you, John. Second? I'll second it.
Oh, I can second it. Sorry.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Terrific. Okay, minutes are passed. Thank you very much. Okay. Treasurer's report.
I sent one out to you folks
Yep,
a
got
little
it.
earlier. In our regular operating account, we have a balance as of actually it says December 4th. It actually means December 31st of $1,130.50, and that's greater than we spent last year for the second half of the fiscal year. So if from an operating expense perspective, we're in good shape. In the Friends account, we had a donation in honor of your birthday,
Yeah,
Philippa.
thank you, Denise. That was very generous. I really appreciated that.
So our balance there is up a little bit from last month to $6,900 odd.
Okay. We did not have anybody zipper zappering during the second half of last year. So that the expenses will be greater if we have those.
No, but what I looked at was the second half. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. But we spent about $600 in the second half of last year. And since we've got 1,100, I think we're still in reasonable shape.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, just because we do have that additional. I would like to keep. I personally would like to keep having the zipper zappers come in because I think they're useful. They just come in that once or 2 hours a month, and I think, oh, hi there, Kristen. I can see you now. It's great. So I think would everybody agree to that, to have them, to continue to have them come? I see lots of nodding. Yeah, yeah, great. Okay, thank you, John. Now, what do we need to do about applying for being part of the budgeting for the town next year? What paperwork do we
Well,
need
an
to
email from Karen Fitzpatrick, the finance officer. They have a deadline of later this month, the 20th or the end of the month, one or the other, of submitting our proposal. And she had all the standard warning language about how they don't want to increase and so on and so forth. But I think we should ask for more money, and we could use Sarah's document that she shared 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should also, for want of a better word, warn the finance committee and the selectmen that that large beach is going to have to come down, and that's going to be a significant expense.
Okay. Sarah, is your document ready now?
I can share it right now. Hold on.
Kind of jumping the items on the agenda, but I think this is a good time to take a look at that.
So can you see everyone see the screen?
It says double click. Where do I double click to have a big screen? Do I just double click on the screen?
Sure. I don't know what kind of device you're on. I don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't know if I can help you.
I got it. I did it. Yeah. Okay.
Before I go through this, there's this Noreen, someone or other who's trying to get into the room. Do we know her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she was on before. Yeah.
I'll put her in. Okay. So I just did a little like overview and then I added the budget increase. And then what is not attached here is I do have now the estimate from the town, stately, which the town uses, correct? So I can include that as well. It's just not a part of the Word document because it wouldn't format correctly when I try and copy it and paste it. But really, I just wanted to lay out like what is going on because I'm sure they don't know
Mhm.
what's going on and like how come all of a sudden to justify the increase in expenses that we're asking for. And then I summarize the report to as simple as possible for them, just so that like we can talk about it. I'm assuming if they ask any questions. And then, yeah. And then I
Terrific.
guesstimated $6,000 with an increase that would bring us to where we need, based on the estimate, where we would need if we adding that to what we normally get from the town.
So if the normal budget is 3, so you said we should be a total of 9.
Yeah. Because I know they won't give
And
us
I think
everything.
it's better
You want to go up?
no, but people always get confused. And so say an increase of 6 for a total budget of 9, if that's what we're asking for, so that it's clear what we're asking for.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, nine will not cover the cost
No.
of the tree work.
No. Because I was wondering if we could get the town to do the minimal, smaller tree work. That's why, so like the stuff that doesn't require the crane, the stuff that they could do, we should push that. It is town property and they should help us. And maybe we could fight that point, or I could add a paragraph in there that says, we are relying on the town to help us with the tree work that can be done by town equipment. If the town chooses not to go this route, we can instead increase the ask. But I thought that was a nicer way to be like, okay, if the town helps us out, we're not gonna ask for so much money. But I don't know how to approach that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if that beech has to come down,
Yep.
that's going to be, and the ash trees also, that's going to be much more than $9,000, and that will not give us any money for mowing and all the other things. I don't know, what do other people think about asking the town to help with the stuff that their equipment would do?
Well, it's town property.
Yep.
I mean, it's town property. I don't feel like we should be tiptoeing around it. This property belongs to the town
Mhm.
and they should be taking care of it, you know, or at least the minimum of taking care of it.
I mean, anytime you have, if you own a property on the street, and if you have a tree within the right of way, well, yeah, they come and take it down, and they send it to the right people. Like for our property, it's on a state highway, so the state, state highway takes care of it. But I think on town roads, they come and take care of that stuff, and this is no different than that.
But
Okay.
I guess before we get going on there, in the rain garden, is that eradication of water runoff system? Is that the curb that we need on the side? Okay. Do we want to put that more clearly?
Yeah, I think it might be better to say, improve the drainage so that the rain garden does its work and helps to maintain the cedar grove that's just below it.
Can you see me type?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I don't know if any of you have driven into Putnam in the last month or so, but if you're driving towards the library, there's an open area on the left which has those green coily things, which I think are the straw blockers that could be put in along the edge of the road as an interim. Has anybody seen them and know what they are?
Yes, that's at where Metal Mast Marine used to be.
Right.
It used to be
Yeah.
the Rosenfeld's business. And the building got derelict and it's been taken down and somebody else owns the property now. But yeah, those big fat sausages might work as an interim measure, but if they have somebody doing paving and curbing, you know, all we need is another 50 feet or less of curb.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw them sitting there the other day and thought, is that the thing that Paul was talking about? And if so, is that what we want to? But I imagine that they're frozen hard and they weigh a ton, and I wouldn't know how to move them.
Yeah.
And I don't know who owns them.
Yeah. Well, I imagine
So-
they're getting ready to do some work there and they'll have to put those along to help to prevent drainage
see.
issues.
Okay.
So can I ask a historical question to you guys? In the original will, was there any kind of I mean, I know we've talked about some endowments and they've been sold, but I noticed when I was doing some history that if it's given to a town, there is in the will or in the paperwork saying that the town must take care of it or something like that. I don't know if there's anything like that.
I honestly don't know, Sandra. I know that the money that was given, it was given to the Historical Society and the Arboretum, and apparently it was spent. It was spent resurfacing that driveway. So there is no money from the endowment left.
Well, I'm thinking more of
The town's responsibility,
town's
right?
responsibility, you know, when it was given over, if there was any language around that, because when I was reading the article about the Dean Park, he left it very specific that it could be used for certain things and the town had to do certain things to keep for the upkeep of it, or you know, that sort of thing. So I didn't know if there was anything like that in ours.
I haven't seen anything, but I can try and find out, but I don't know.
Probably
I
not.
guess I'm gonna say my personal wonderment is like I don't think the town has a history of caring for the trees at the Palmer Arboretum.
Sure.
And while it may be ethically per the will the correct thing to do, it hasn't been done. So I guess my question is just what is the best way for us to approach the town to get them to start doing it? I mean, I don't think as a committee just going to the town and saying, you know what, this is your responsibility, like do it, will be effective.
Well, we want,
I agree with that. That's why I think maybe add, like, you can see what I just added. That like, we are only asking for 6,000 if we get some help from the town. If not, then we have to ask for more and then hopefully we get a compromise. And I was trying to make sure my language wasn't like,
Was invitational versus confrontational.
yes, yeah, like, we want you to help. We're happy, like, this is. Right.
Yeah. No, I think that works.
I like that, yeah.
So what
I
was the
agree.
money, we got an estimate to take the beach down.
Yes,
How
I
was it?
can't share my screen with that because it's in my school email and I don't know what is confidential in there, so I can find it if I unshare my screen. Is that okay?
The order of magnitude was like $20,000, wasn't it?
That was
So
a big,
it's a big
I
number.
thought it was a bunch more than that.
that
I
was a
can increase it.
different person.
I also am afraid to blow them out of the water and say,
Right.
you've given us $3,000 and now we want 40,000. Like, I'm
Right.
afraid to do that. So
Wouldn't it be prudent to emphasize the safety issues that are
Yes.
really critical? And also maybe from that list, which I think is lovely, but to pull out some things that we can do for free, like planting the rain garden, maybe pruning the dogwoods, I don't know. But to emphasize the things that volunteers cannot and should not safely do, to make it seem imperative that big equipment and big money is going to have to be involved.
Noreen.
This is not, yeah, I'd like to add, I think that the town needs to, they may need to consult their attorney on this, because if there are trees that could fall down, this is a publicly accessible area owned by the town. It would be a lot cheaper to take the trees down that are dangerous and liable to fall than it would be to pay out a personal injury liability or even to fight a lawsuit over it. So I think that they need to be a little to understand, not that we would threaten them in some way, but that we should have them talk to the town's attorney and let them know that this is these are potential liabilities, these trees that could fall over. I mean, that tree that fell last spring would have injured somebody. There were people there not very far away. It was just by the grace of God that nobody was injured. And I think that's like exhibit A as to why the town needs to take responsibility for this, because there's a huge liability issue there if they don't do that. And I think that should be persuasive, and volunteers can't do that. I mean, that would be adding more liability issues if volunteers, you know, what if you had some high school students there and somebody got injured? My gosh. So I think they need to think about that. And I don't think anybody's focused on it. It's
Good point,
on the
Maureen.
town
And
side.
yeah, and I do think, Philip, isn't that what Jay Swan had mentioned to you, that if there were trees that were a danger or that the town would take care of their removal?
Actually, it was
Yeah,
Chandler
yeah, and we got,
Oh,
who mentioned
when
that.
we,
Yes, go ahead,
when we
John.
went to Karen and asked for the town's help in taking down the birch tree, where we got a bill from Bartlett for over $3,000, and they covered part of it, and we also got a sort of finger wagging letter, please ask the town to take that, because we will help if there's a safety issue. So the town understands that.
yeah.
Okay, good.
The challenge is if we give them too big a number, one reaction will be just to close the Arboretum.
Yes,
That's what I was
exactly.
gonna ask.
And I
Well-
also think that if we go in running hot, as someone who has dealt with Chandler in other capacities, no, I think he's very kind. I don't want to go in there aggressive because the budget's going to be tight. We already know this. We know that publicly there's other things going on in the town. I think we should calmly address that these safety concerns, also acknowledge, and I can write down this paragraph, that the town has taken care of recent safety concerns as well. And we like to continue to build on that relationship. And we like to have a clearer understanding of how to address when things are going on, who do we actually talk to, that sort of thing. I think that's important to sort of recognize that they have done a lot for us and maybe acknowledge that we did get yelled, not that we got yelled, we got in trouble, but like we need to know the clearer path of how to address certain safety concerns.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
think if
Although,
we
can they
go in with the
close?
safety concern and we just go in hot, then I just don't think that that's the effective way.
Right. Obviously, you can't threaten them, just to make sure they're aware. That's all. But I don't know if they can really close it under.
They can close it to the public until they address any safety concerns, and then
Oh,
we
they
can
could.
never
I
address the
guess they
safety
could do
concerns.
that as long as it was not a
Yeah.
permanent closure, because it was deeded to the towns as a public space. So I don't. It probably is worth looking at the terms of the will, which should be in the town hall.
Yeah, I think that if you can mention, Sarah, just briefly that they have addressed safety concerns.
Yeah,
in
I'm
the
moving
past,
it around.
because I think, you know, the house next door to us had requested that
Yep.
that tree be cut down, and it has been cut down. It's still sitting there, unfortunately, but it was at least cut down and removed the safety hazard. So that acknowledging that they have participated in those, and you know, unfortunately, that beech tree is truly a safety hazard. If those branches fall on somebody's head, that head is going to be crushed. I'm looking to see what you're writing.
Well, I need a little bit, I'm doing off the cuff. I need a little bit more time. Like I'll write something,
Okay.
and I'll go through it and like fix it.
Yeah, and that when that Walktober event, I think we said, you know, a tree on part of the Arboretum fell onto the neighbor's properties.
Yep.
Because it's a little hard to follow there. And I don't know that our spending a lot of time editing this document is a good use of our time.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
have
keep
a-
working on it though. You guys can keep talking. I'll half listen.
Right. But we do need to have this ready to go to the first selectman and the finance committee, right? Before the end of this month?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Getting back to our agenda. work stuff. It's been much too cold to do much work. I have brought in cardboard, as I showed the photographs, and started to cover it with wood chips, because at that point the wood chip pile was loose enough to dig. It's frozen hard right now, but my son and I brought in a huge quantity of cardboard boxes from Busquets. They donated them to us, and they're sort of lurking under the bushes in the rain garden at the moment. I just, rather than bring them home and keep them at home, I
Oh, yeah.
stuffed them under the bushes, and I'm hoping the wind does not pick them up and take them off, because the top box is extremely heavy. It's a massive refrigerator carton. So I think we have enough cardboard to cover that whole back of the rain garden that needs to be covered. But we need to wait for the wood chips to be thawed out enough to use. But that's there. And that's really the only work that I think has happened there in this month. I don't think anybody else, I think everybody's been busy with Christmas and all the other fun things that have been going on this month. So that's really all that was done, but that took a couple of hours. So in following up with your suggestion, John, is trying to keep a record of volunteer hours. I keep kind of keeping that down in the book of how many hours I spend and people report having spent and Sarah's kids have spent, and just trying to keep some record of that. I don't know if we can apply for grants, and I have to check that out with Karen. I seem to remember being told at some point that the town had to apply for the grant, not us. So that even
Well, we're an agent of the town.
Right, but I think we have to have it approved by somebody.
I'll talk with Karen about that. I think, because I was going to suggest that particularly for things like planting around the rain garden, or if we wanted to change the mix of trees we have as we lose some big trees and we want to replace them, we might want to change to a native species, that we might be able to get a grant from the Quiet Corner Garden Club or the Federated Garden Clubs of Connecticut or other foundations that are supporting that kind of activity.
We've had grants in the past, like from the Master Gardeners Club, or whatever they're called, society. They gave us money in the past that we've used to plant banks or put in bulbs and things. Not enough to do tree work, but I think you're right, John. Could you check that out with Karen and make sure that there may be a procedure?
Let me make a note. I've got
may be able to do the application, but it may need to be then gone through the selectman's office or the finance committee or some other important honcho in the town. Thank you. Okay. Sandra, you and I have not met yet to check out the rest of the trees, have we?
No, I don't know how much we can do without the leaves on them, but we could try. At least identify which ones we have to identify.
Right.
So I'm pretty available for the most part till first week in February, and then I'm off again.
Okay.
So, and the other thing was, I did see Jean Pillow at a Last Green Valley event, and she just asked me to send her another tickler. She had company all through Christmas, so I had sent her a note, and it just dropped off her radar for that list. So
yeah,
I'll do that this week.
You'll do that again? Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, she said she'll get it for us. It just went off her radar.
Okay, no problem. That's great. Thank you. And you and Denise were going to get together at some point, right?
Yeah, well, I had started looking at the guide that Sandra's put so much work into it. Sandra, I just wanted to ask like how I can be most helpful. I mean, I know whether it's just kind of like editing what's here or about like things are kind of different, or there's some places where you're like, we need a story or need something else. Would it be helpful if I tried to do some research on some of those, or how can I be most helpful? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. So maybe we can just talk about it. I know you're really good at editing. So my feeling is that once we get it all written and put together, if you did your thing of just reading through it and like you put everything in the right tense and make sure that it flows well, that it reads well. And I
Okay.
like the
I-
way
I-
you do that.
I'd be happy to do that down the road. I mean, let me know how I can be a help.
But I think we've just got to finish it with all the stories and that sort of thing. So how do we want to approach that?
Well, I can also look up stories on the trees that have already been identified and try and get some more stories there. We also need to think about how many specific trees do we want to include in the self-guided tour?
Yeah, and I
We
figured,
don't want all of
yeah, I figured I'm just doing the massive list and then you guys will tell me yes, no, put it in this, put in that, but at least we'll have a list of it.
Okay.
And if it's not going to be in there and it doesn't need a story, we can just put some basic information, you know, that's what I'm kind of trying to get a feel for is,
Okay.
yeah, because once I get this done, it's really easy to pare it down. You know,
Okay.
to whatever
Mm.
size you guys need
Mm.
Terrific.
for
That sounds
the
fantastic.
lots. But getting everything in is helpful.
That's fantastic. And Denise, I'm just so happy that you are still with us. I know you had wanted to
Oh,
make some
thanks.
kind of comment and go right ahead, but I just
Okay,
want to
thanks,
say I'm
Philippa.
thrilled that you are still on the committee. I know
Oh,
you
thanks,
had some
Philippa.
ambivalence about
You're so
that.
kind. Yes. I just wanted to share with the committee. I mean, I shared with Philippa that I was thinking of leaving the committee just because I really do not like weeding, and going to the Arboretum to weed is just like, why am I doing this? Ugh. And the only redeeming thing is you all are such wonderful, fabulous people just to be around. And so I talked to Philippa about I'd be happy to continue being the secretary and doing the minutes and sending agendas to the town hall and following up with minutes and helping with editing, making cookies for work groups and being a support as I can. But if you guys would be willing to say okay, you don't have to come and feel guilty about weeding, I would be happy
You do
to
not have to come and feel guilty about
do
it.
that other
Denise, I
stuff.
can't weed. All I do is get poison ivy. I'm out. Look, I have my prednisone in my cabinet, for emergency uses. I'm out. I can't weed.
But Sarah, you come with groups and do work.
Yeah, but I just yell at
blah,
them.
blah, blah.
I just tell them what to do and I walk around, so I'm not weeding.
Okay. But I mean, another thing I was just thinking too is I just know because of the makeup of the committee that Kristen, that you weren't able to officially join the committee. And I believe that we are affiliated with the same party. I mean, another possibility would be that you could be an official member of the committee. I could possibly be non-official and just be the secretary. Anyways, I mean, just something to think about.
How about if I do double weeding and you stay on the committee?
Yeah, and
God bless you.
I'll help Kristen with the triple meeting if you can stay and do the minutes and editing.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
Thank you for your kindness and understanding.
Well, thank you, Denise, because we all have different skills and your skill as a secretary is incredible. And just to lose you would be horrendous for the rest of us.
Philippa, you're so
I
kind.
feel about being a secretary as you feel about weeding.
Yeah.
Okay.
If somebody asked me to be secretary, I would say, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And when
Well,
I
I'd be
was
your
secretary, I drove everybody crazy at the town hall because I was always doing things the wrong way and was just driving them nuts. So they are thrilled that I'm not secretary anymore.
okay. Well, thank you all for understanding and your kindness.
Well, thank you. We normally do not have a meeting in February because everything's
Can I show what I just wrote before you?
Sure. Yeah, before we move on, absolutely.
Oh no, my wrong form. There. John, you have to tell me where it is. Hold on. Did I fix it?
You're coming.
Here you are.
Just there.
Hey there.
All right, so this is what I added down here. I'll still play with the language a little bit, but. I also believe in the Oxford comma, and if you don't believe in the Oxford comma, I don't care. I have a strong belief in the Oxford comma.
Do you think we should put an increase in safety concerns due to, the issues that all the trees in New England are dying? I mean,
Due to environmental
yeah,
changes.
Yeah.
because it's not like they're just because of the Arboretum.
Well, it's also the age of many of the trees, right? I
Yep.
mean, So I think that you might want to add that as well. I mean, there's environmental climate issues and also just the general age of many of the original plantings.
The tree.
Not just,
Old.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
Sarah, it's not just environmental changes, it's also the influx of invasive
Yeah,
um,
Right, species, both insects
invasive.
and plants.
Sorry, I know, sorry.
oh,
It's nerve-wracking to
I was
type and
telling
keep-
Philippa that I found on the 1978 manifest that they planted bittersweet. Just thought I'd let you know.
And I take it was Oriental and not American
was-
bittersweet.
Yeah, it wasn't American. There were two different kinds, if I recalling correctly. But I think it's what Tom pulled out because those were like this big.
Oh, it was huge. Well, they grow fast. Who knows?
Mm.
And I
Yep.
still know it's not enough to cover everything, but then I think depending on how much money we get, we can look at this list up here and be like, okay, we can prune the dogwood, or we can figure out how to do that. We could like do some of the stuff.
Mhm.
Well, I wonder if you just put, you know, the committee and volunteers are able to do much of the work, but we just can't handle. We just can't handle the trees and the curbs, you know, all that sort of stuff. I don't know what you would call that.
And would it be worth just adding in, I think somebody mentioned this earlier, just, you know, Philippa, maybe you could come up with a guesstimate of how many volunteer hours between groups and committee members are put in, you know, during a year, just to, you know, show that the committee's invested
Yeah.
in many ways in the Arboretum.
Okay, Sarah,
I could
I'll
add
look
this
as much as
here.
I can and give it back to you, okay? Get it to you as
Yeah,
quickly.
I'll add that here, like about volunteers, and then just say that this is something that we can't do.
Yeah, because we've had several work groups where we had 15 or 20 people there for several hours.
Right.
And it did work that was useful and necessary, and it
Mhm.
didn't cost the town anything.
Right.
So the large tree that has to be removed is a beech tree.
Yes.
Birch, beech.
Beech.
There's a difference
Birch
between
is,
them?
the birch is already been
There is
removed.
it double E? Is it double E? Is that
The
right?
Yes.
double E.
No,
Yeah, beach. Yep. That's correct.
yeah.
Yeah, the birch is already gone. That was the one, that's the controversial one that they took
Yeah, I
down.
think we got our stories
I don't even know what any of these
scrambled.
plants are called. There's just trees and there's plants, and I don't know the difference, and I never.
You're doing a great job there, Sarah. Don't worry about it. Okay, I think you're probably going to be tweaking this, so let's move on because
Yep,
we
yep.
can come back to that. Getting back to, do we need to meet in February? Because I think we don't have a scheduled meeting for February. I think actually even this meeting is sort of I wasn't sure we scheduled a January meeting normally. Well, how do people feel?
Well, will we have any information from the town by then? It'd be nice to know if.
I don't think so, no. When do they come out with their budget? John?
We could probably look at the finance committee website, Board of Finance website, but I don't think they'll have anything by first week in February because the deadline for submissions to Karen and team is either the 20th of this month or the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't have time to turn that around,
Okay.
except to say you asked for too much. And yeah, well, we know we asked for a lot. Give us a chance to speak to that.
Yep.
And move on.
Yeah, I
And
think
then-
So I
Fair
guess,
point.
well, that's a long way to say, I don't think we need to meet in February.
Right.
But I think Denise, you sent a list of meeting dates to the town clerk, didn't you?
Yeah.
Somebody did.
Yes, I did.
And did that include February?
You know, I'll look back, but I think that I noted that sometimes we didn't meet in January and February, but I mean, I can follow up with them and just confirm with them that we won't be meeting if that's what the decision is.
Well, I don't think we need to. I mean, you're a great committee, but I hate to, fill you with meetings that we don't need.
Yeah.
Okay, so no meeting in February.
So before we go, Philippa, once you send me the information, I do another read through the document. Who do I give this document to? Who's submitting it to the town or whomever we submit to? I should not be the one that emails Karen. I'm going to say that.
It
No,
should
no,
go.
it should
last
come
time.
from either Philippa as the president or chair of the committee or me as treasurer. So why don't you send it to both of us, and Philippa and I will touch base and decide what we're gonna do next.
Okay, sounds
that
good.
And I will double check. I've got the email from Karen. I just can't get at it right this minute with the deadline. And so that'll
Right.
help us
Okay, good.
focus.
Was Ian Preston? Sandra, you use that company. Is Ian Preston one of the members of the company that the town also
He was, I think he's a principal.
of Stately?
Oh, no, that was Preston Family. Stately
Okay.
was somebody else.
Because Preston Family gave us an estimate also, but it was much more
Much more.
than Stately, because I got a phone call this morning from Ian Preston wanting to follow up on
Oh,
that
really?
estimate. And so, at this point, no decisions have been made, but his estimate was much higher than Stately's, as I can remember.
Yeah, we had some personal stuff done, and Ian was much more expensive than Stately too. So we had Stately do some
Right.
work on our property as well, and they did a great job. Both of them did great jobs.
That's what you had said, was they
Yeah,
were both
both
terrific,
of them were fine.
but just more expensive. Okay, I just wanted to double check on that. Okay. Anybody else got any other issues?
I have a question,
Yes,
which
Noreen.
is, I'm sorry, I missed the first few minutes, I think, but the long-term development plan, is that finished? I'm not really clear.
That's what
That's what she's working on now? I mean, is that going to be circulated to all of us, or is it going to be circulated, put on the town website, or is it going to be available anywhere? I mean, can anybody else read it?
okay. We have. I mean, it would be coming to you and I, John, right?
Well, I think the document that Sarah just was sharing with us is more about how do we get a budget put together for the next fiscal year. I think what Noreen is talking about is a longer term plan. For example, what would we like to put where the beach is now when it comes down?
Right. That's what I thought that there was a plan, a long-term development plan being developed or being created. That's what I was asking about. Yes, not the
That's
not
still
the
on the
immediate
to-do list, I
budget.
think.
Oh, I see. Okay. But well, it was on the
It was on. But we should. It was on the agenda, and we should have discussed it. Thank you, Noreen. Yes, but it is definitely on the to-do list still.
Yeah.
Oh, it's still okay. It's still on the to-do list.
Right.
I mean, I sort of ask because, well, one, it would be nice to see, but I've floated with a few members of the garden club at the civic committee that we might want to work with the Arboretum committee, but I think we would need to see what your plans are so that we could see like what kind of a piece we could fit into.
Do we need to set up a subcommittee for that? And just get a couple people focusing in on it, Philippa, so that we can, I know that we've been trying to get the finances done, but I agree with Noreen, we do need to get something put in place and maybe do a little subcommittee. I don't think everybody needs to be on it. What do you?
Are you volunteering?
Probably.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to have, but it seems to me that right now our energies are going into identifying the trees, coming with the whole tree list. And I know that, Tom, you were going to be looking into what kind of trees we might want to bring in as options to replace. That was one of the things we had talked about last meeting.
The other thing I mentioned to you, Philippa, is I wanted to, and it could be part of the groundwork for the long term, is since I've been looking a lot at all the trees on the property through the decades, I wanted to put together an Excel grid that showed the manifest from 1914 or 16 or whatever it was, 1977, 1988, 1995. See what's alive, what's not, what's been added, what hasn't, because there weren't really great records. And I think it, you know, to the point of the long term, it's nice to know what we have first before we develop what we want to do.
I think so. I feel that that is sort of on the to-do list, Noreen, but you know, is important for us to do. And certainly, if you know, if we decided to develop plantings as far as the garden club would be involved. I mean, they already have that shade garden, which is a
Right.
garden club project, and we would love to have them come in and take care of that. So that if you have any access to members and could have them come in and take care of that piece, that would be terrific, because it's not taken care of, and could be a beautiful little section on that bank. But I just feel like we need to know what we have and what we can get rid of safely and, you know, financially, and then what we're going to replace it with.
Yeah, and I think part of the plan too is what we talked about is maybe visiting the Arnold Arboretum and maybe even Bean Park, you know, and just see what they're doing. I mean, I think we need, I mean, I know we're only dealing with a couple of acres, but you know, I've never done anything on an Arboretum before, you know.
Right.
So it'd be nice to see if we can get some volunteer help from some more substantial places.
Mhm.
Is the Arnold Arboretum the one in Massachusetts that
Yes. Yep.
she had?
Yep.
Right, because you know, Connecticut College has a very large I mean, you guys probably already know that, but they might be willing to.
Yeah,
out.
and the reason I mentioned Arnold Arboretum is because a lot of the original trees came from there.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
There's an historical connection. I understand
I'm
that.
sorry, but I need to drop off
Yep.
to get ready
Right.
for my next one.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everybody.
much,
Bye,
John.
John.
Bye-bye. We're almost finished anyhow. Yeah, okay. Kristen, you've been very quiet this evening. Any input that you would like to give us? You're silent. You're mute.
We can't
You're
hear you.
I'm fine. I'm listening. I'm always impressed that you run a lovely meeting and lovely minutes come out from Denise. So, thank you.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you. Yeah, I do think the long range plan is something we need to do, Noreen, and I'm, you know, thank you for prodding us in that direction. But I think that may be sort of the next thing on the list rather than right now. Maybe part of what we're doing is contributing to the long range plan.
Mm.
Any other thoughts? Thank you very much, Sarah, for doing that whole budget thing. That's terrific. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay. Any other business?
So our next meeting will be on Wednesday, March 5th.
Perfect. Thank you, Denise. Okay, I entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor, good night, stay
Bye.
warm. Watch
Night.
out for this
Yes.
vortex.
Thank you.
too.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Night.
Right.
Good night, good night, good night, good night.